Welcome to this explainer. Today we are unpacking the foundational and heavily debated frameworks of clinical ecology. We're going to be looking directly at the fascinating, completely paradigm-shifting work of Lawrence D. Dickey and Theron Randolph from the 1970s and 80s. These two pioneers basically formalized the study of how our immediate environment, our food, our water, the air we breathe, and all those modern synthetic chemicals, profoundly impacts human health.
All right, let's kick things off with a bit of a medical mystery. What if, and hear me out, what if you are actually addicted to the exact things making you sick? It's a deeply counterintuitive question for sure, but it completely challenges how we think about our daily habits, our cravings, and the invisible architecture of our modern lives.
To map all this out, we're going to hit 5 key areas. First, the hidden medical mystery. Second, the seed versus the soil. Third, the concept of total load. Fourth, masked allergies and chemical triggers. And finally, protocols for biological sovereignty. Let's get right into it.
Part 1, the hidden medical mystery.
So picture this. It's 1980, and traditional allergist Theron Randolph is completely baffled. He has these patients coming to him who are failing standard skin prick allergy tests left and right, yet they are undeniably sick. The catch? They aren't presenting with your usual sneezing, itching, or hives. Instead, Randolph realized he was looking at a hidden epidemic of unrecognized allergies, things manifesting as chronic fatigue, severe depression, unexplained joint pain, and debilitating brain fog. He theorized that this wasn't some sort of genetic failing. No, it was a fundamental mismatch between our ancient biology and the brand new modern chemical environment we suddenly found ourselves living in.
Moving right along to Part 2, the seed versus the soil.
This idea right here is the absolute core of Lawrence Dickey's 1976 work. You know how the prevailing wisdom of conventional medicine is pretty linear, right? One cause, one effect. It focuses almost entirely on the seed, which is the germ, the disease, or the specific pathology, and the ultimate goal is just to suppress the resulting symptoms. Well, clinical ecology flips that entirely on its head. It argues we have to focus on the soil, meaning the patient's holistic, total environment. Instead of just handing out a pill to medicate a symptom, the clinical ecologist acts way more like a detective, working to identify and completely remove the environmental triggers from the patient's life.
Part 3, the concept of total load. Here is where it gets really interesting mechanically. Illness isn't always one massive catastrophic exposure. Often, it's the cumulative, completely invisible effect of many small everyday stressors. Total load is the absolute maximum threshold of combined stress, whether that's some chemical you inhaled, a biological pathogen, or even severe emotional stress that a human body can process at one time. Your body's detoxification pathways, like your liver and your kidneys, they're constantly working. But the very second that total load exceeds your individual threshold, the system breaks down and boom, chronic symptoms suddenly appear.
Think of your body like a rain barrel. Every single day you drop a little bit into it. You can handle a little bit of hidden corn additive in your lunch, a little bit of indoor smog from your office carpet, and, a little bit of work stress. The barrel fills up, but you feel totally fine. But eventually, one more drop, maybe just a whiff of perfume or a sudden change in the weather, causes the barrel to overflow. You get sick, and you naturally blame that last drop. But Dickey and Randolph argue the real problem is that the barrel was just way too full to begin with. Biological sovereignty, then, requires actively managing your environment to keep your exposure levels safely below the rim.
Part 4, masked allergies and chemical triggers. Randolph called this next concept the great disguise, the masked allergy cycle. And honestly, this is where things get pretty wild. He argued that we often intensely crave the exact things causing us harm. Let's say you're unknowingly allergic to wheat. In step 1, the stimulatory phase, you eat the wheat and your body reacts by giving you a temporary stimulant high, a lift. You feel energized. But a few hours later, in step 2, you hit the withdrawal phase. You crash hard, feeling exhausted, irritable, or foggy. Your brain desperately wants to feel better, so in step 3, it prompts you to eat that food again. You get another lift, which completely masks the true cause of your fatigue. You aren't just eating, you're literally medicating a withdrawal symptom with the allergen itself.
And we're not just talking about food here. Randolph was actually one of the first guys to sound the alarm on what he called indoor smog. We're talking petrochemicals, formaldehyde outgassing from brand new carpets, fumes from gas stoves, synthetic fabrics, pesticides, not to mention the absolute cornucopia of hidden corn additives found in everything from your daily vitamin pills to the wax sprayed on grocery store vegetables. These specific triggers bypass our ancient immune defenses for a very simple reason. Our ancestors literally never encountered them. They are invisible, modern invaders filling up our barrels every single day.
Finally, Part 5. Protocols for Biological Sovereignty. When you compare the two approaches side by side, the differences are practically night and day. Conventional allergy testing relies on looking for IgE antibodies in your blood or skin, focusing on natural triggers like pollen or dust, things that usually cause itching or sneezing. And the solution? Usually they just hand you an antihistamine. Randolph's Clinical Ecology, on the other hand, tests via elimination and provocation. It looks at modern synthetics and everyday food staples that cause deep, systemic issues like arthritis and depression. And rather than prescribing a pill to suppress the symptom, the solution is strict avoidance and dietary rotation.
Now, putting this avoidance into practice, the protocol is, well, it's intense. It starts with a diagnostic fast. Patients are placed in a chemically controlled, clear space room, consuming absolutely nothing but spring water. Once they're entirely clear of environmental triggers, their hidden allergies unmask and their symptoms vanish. Clinicians then reintroduce foods one by one to pinpoint the exact culprits. Then comes the rotary diversified diet. To prevent new masked allergies from forming, patients are told to never eat the same food family more than once every 4 to 7 days. Finally, they have to create a safe haven at home. And yes, this meant literally building a biological firewall in their bedrooms, ripping out all their synthetic carpets, switching to electric heat, and running heavy-duty air filtration. It sounds extreme, but to them, it was the absolute only way out.
Ultimately, what Dickey and Randolph were writing about back then really laid the groundwork for our modern understanding of epigenetics and toxicology. They proved our biological systems are in a constant, highly delicate conversation with our surroundings. They suggest that we are often being unknowingly nudge poisoned by a chemical environment we didn't ask for and didn't choose. But by consciously managing the architecture of our environment, we can actually free our minds from brain fog, clear our physical terrain, and maintain true sovereignty over our own health.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to think about. Look around your home right now. Look at your daily routines. What invisible stressors might be filling up your own total load today? I really encourage you to take a closer, more curious look at the unseen elements of your daily habitat. Because honestly, it just might be the key to unlocking how you actually feel. Thanks so much for learning with me today.